Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are creating the ultimate beginner's guide to Cities Skylines by creating the city of Tutoria. And in today's episode, we are going to focus on mods. So this will be a PC-focused episode where we take a look at the most essential mods to the game. I'm going to present 15 mods to you in this video that are great for beginners, and then 15 mods to you in the next video, which are great for advanced players. And I'll give you a brief overview of how to use these particular mods. So mods are so important because they can take your game to the next level, add replay value, and make the game easier to play. Add features that honestly probably should have been in the game in the very beginning, or features that people thought up over time that have just made the game better. I'm going to be including a list of these mods on Steam, so if you have any interest in them, you can subscribe to one or all of these mods. And without any further ado, let's jump right in to the mods that are most essential for beginners. First up is the 81 tiles mod, and you might notice we are not in Tutoria, or we are, but it's completely empty, and that is because I recommend loading this mod up before you start your city. You could certainly do it afterwards, but you can run into some issues such as neighborhoods or district boundaries shifting, and I didn't want to deal with any of that in Tutoria, considering how advanced the city is. So the reason why this mod is so powerful is it gives you the ability to purchase the entire map, not just 9 tiles, not 25, all 81 tiles, and build anywhere. So the way that you access this mod is you go into the pause menu, go under options, find 81 tiles, and click unlock all tiles for free. Don't worry about the danger zone. You're very unlikely to need this unless your city was created before Sunset Harbor or something like that. So ignore that for the most part, and then let it sit here, and you'll see in the background it's unlocking all of the tiles. And now we're good. And this is absolutely fantastic. We could start our city anywhere now. We could pop over here and decide this is the most appropriate place to start our city. There we are. And this is a million miles away from where the game wants us to be starting. We could go all the way over to the edge of the map. Really spectacular stuff here and lots of fun. So for me, this is the most essential mod. It allows you to make your city as big as you want to make it. Okay, number 2 on the list is Move It, and this is a mod that is many people's favorite mod, and for good reason. Move It allows you to really take control of the game. So if you take a look over here at this kind of cross sign, that is Move It, and there are many things that you can do with this. But I think the thing that most people care the most about is it's just in a single selection, you can select, these are called nodes, and these are segments. So with a segment, you can bend, and that center point is straight. So that little circle in the center, that is straight. With a node, you could move it as well, or you could do this. By paging down, you are able to actually adjust terrain heights. So it is very powerful. You'll see that this was unreasonably high before, and I was able to take this down a level and make it make a ton more sense. So that's not where the power ends here. So if you go over here to the marquee selection, you can pick all buildings, props, decals, surfaces, trees, nodes, or segments. So one thing I like to do, for instance, is to select just trees, and then I can find a piece of forest that I like, highlight that, and now if I come to this right here, which is copy or alt click, you can copy that series of trees and create either a very dense forest or a new forest, and you can have that repeating pattern, and it can be really nice and very quick. Another thing that you could do with this that I think many people don't think about, so let's go into this neighborhood, and let's say I have a problem with this particular house. I don't like this house. So I could come through, select the picker, and I'm gonna pick that house, and my copy is actually still on. So I'll use escape to hop out of there, select this house, go into my marquee selection, and now you'll see that the villa is highlighted, and I can come through here and select. Now the only buildings that have been selected are the villas, and I can come to this one and bulldoze just those. Now that will allow something else to spring up in its place. I could pause it, select another building that I like more, and copy it. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that without Rico, these will disappear if they are not an exact fit. So they have to exactly fit and be in the exact correct place, otherwise they'll disappear. But that is something that you could do. If you have Rico Revisited installed, which we'll get to that one in the future, it gives you the ability to kind of move these wherever you want as well. So I do want to talk about a couple of features of this that matter. So follow terrain. Let's come over and go to a place with a bit more terrain differences. So let's say we want to move this particular building right here. If we have follow terrain and we pull this over, you can see that it's going up and down with the elevation. If we turn this off, it is going to stay at the exact same height it was at before. So there are scenarios where maybe that's beneficial to you, many that it won't be. So just something to keep in mind. We'll get that back where it was with Control Z. Another thing that you can do with this mod, so you can line up objects. So let's say we have a series of objects that are not quite straight. We could select one, hold down Shift, and select some more. Come over here and line those objects up, and now they're in a perfect line. You could mirror objects if you wanted them to, if you wanted to reflect those back over and have another set. You can rotate objects. There's a whole bunch of things you can do. One of the most important things, though, I think you can do, this isn't the best way to slope things, but it is a way. And if it's the only mod that you have, it'll work just fine. So let's slope this down. So we'll start at the terrain height that we want to be the top, and we'll go down to the bottom. So we selected all of those nodes, and now you can slope these objects, and look at that. Now this ramp makes sense. So that is something that with just this one mod, you could dramatically improve the way that your cities look. You can also set things to other object heights. So if you wanted this to be perfectly mirrored, select this node you want to move, go to object height, select the object you want to align it with, and now those are at the exact same elevation. So if I were bringing this into this city, I would probably look at every node on the highway and either pop it down manually until you see some of these lumpies and bumpies disappear, or you could use that object height. You could also bring it to terrain height if something is not right, and because you've changed it and moved it, you've raised up the building. You could then go ahead and reset that to the terrain height, and it'll bring it right back. So very, very powerful mod. I've only touched the surface. You can also toggle snapping so that if you pull a building, it's snapping to place. Lots of wonderful things you can do. Also an underground, and you can have the grid there. So that's helpful if you're going to clone a building. Like I mentioned, if you do not have Rico Revisited and you want to copy buildings, you really have to have the zoning on to make sure that you are placing that building in the appropriate zoning. And you have to have the snapping so it stays in the correct place. So very important there. I'd also recommend you follow the terrain most of the time. Lots of fun things that you can do with this mod. Highly recommend that you check this one out. Number 3 is one that is absolutely vital in my opinion. City Vitals Watch. This is actually one of the oldest mods on the list. I believe this one came out just after the game was released. But what this allows you to do is actually view exactly what's happening in your city, view all of the needs of all of your various utilities, your school utilization, all of those things all in one quick dashboard. And best of all, you can configure it yourself. So you could add all of these different things that might be of interest to you, university availability, fire hazard, all of these different city vital statistics, and take a look at them. You can close it right here, and it adds this button that brings it right back. So this isn't the only mod that does this, but this is the one that I think does it in the most clear way. It is a very familiar wizard because this is exactly how it looks if you were to open up each one of these things individually. There's your water availability, and look at this. It's exactly the same. So it prevents you from going into all of those menus to figure out your city's needs. And if you have this open most of the time, you'll be able to anticipate some of your utilities running out before or maxing out before you end up with a death wave. So that's one of the reasons why I love this mod so much. It's very simple, but it is so important. Fourth on our list is Ultimate Eye Candy, and you might have noticed since the beginning of this tutorial that things are looking a little bit cartoony and washed out, and that is because we are using the Vanilla Tropical LUT. So with Ultimate Eye Candy and some LUTs, you have a whole bunch of control. So if you hold Shift U with Ultimate Eye Candy installed, you will get this overlay, and it does so much for you. First of all, you can change the longitude and latitude of your city, which can give you a different perspective on where the sun is in the sky at different times of day. If you have the day-night cycle enabled, you can either make it really, really fast, slow it down, set it to normal, and then control it entirely. So this is how I get some of my scenes where I have a purple sky in the background. The other thing you can do is modify the weather by hand, so you can just turn it on and do whatever you want to the weather. So you want it to rain a whole bunch, great. You want to have a moderate rain, that's fine. Turn it off, you can do that too. And then the most powerful thing you can do here is change your LUT. So if you want it to feel like Clearwater County, use Realistic MX, which will give you that more gritty, I think it feels very Midwestern, a little darker, a little drearier, and changing the longitude and latitude will make it feel a little different, you know? So this is very important. You can get a feeling that it's almost photorealistic if you have the right LUTs available to you. You can also just change it to be more like Verde Beach and Tutoria right here. I use Reaper Real Blue for those two cities, and I have a whole bunch of them in here, and I've included this in the set available with this video. The last thing you can do is save a preset. So I'm going to load this preset right now, and you'll see that this is the setting I normally have for Tutoria, and I've actually started using it in Verde Beach about 20 or 30 episodes ago. And I don't think anyone's really noticed, but I think it's improved the way it looks. So lots of fun things that you can do. Very, very, very important mod. Number 5 on our list is actually a series of mods together that create a really nice visual effect for your sky. So you need Cubemap Replacer, Daylight Classic, and some Cubemap packs to be able to achieve this effect, and that's why I'm including this all as one. So if you pop into your pause menu, we come into options, we have to look at our Daylight Classic settings. So you have to have, the top ones don't matter, but for the advanced features, you have to have all of these enabled. And then you'll see that the sky just changed. And that's because we have Cubemap Replacer. What this does is allows you to change the way that your sky looks to give you a more realistic looking sky. So a whole bunch of different cube maps come with the pack that I've included in here. If you do not get one of the Cubemap packs, you have, I think, one of, the example 1-piece, example 6-piece, and then the vanilla. I like to go a little bit beyond that. So that's why, I've used this one quite often in Verde Beach. So you get that kind of purplish sky. It's dawn. It looks really nice. Now, right now, the night has no effect. I don't know that it's ever going to. This is a fairly old mod at this point and has never been added. Still, excellent appearance here. The other thing you can do is minimize your horizon, which for some of these can give you a really dramatic effect. Where it can get a little bit dicey is you can see that there's a definitive line now. So I generally do not enable this feature because that allows it to kind of fade out and it looks a little more natural to me. But between the two of these, or the three of these mods, Cubemap Replacer, Daylight Classic, and the Cubemap packs, you can get some really striking skies. This will also reflect differently on your water. So you can see that the water has that kind of pinkish reflection coming off from it. So it can make everything just feel a little bit better. Number 6 on our list is ACME, a camera mod. Now this is a very important mod if you want to be able to control your cameras. So to access this one, you hold Alt-C and this menu will come up. Now you can toggle a whole bunch of collision. It will also give you your exact camera location and give you the opportunity to change it based on very specific coordinates. So this can be really useful if you want to replicate something in the future, it will also precisely save your camera location when you save your game. So if you save right here and you want to come back to this, it'll reload it there. It'll also allow you to change the tilt of your game, which can give you a different perspective. Interestingly, the field of view can really change how things feel. So 45 is normal, but it gives you, you can get this really interesting tilt shift effect with this. So I really like that. For me, it's for making thumbnails. I sometimes will use this and get kind of a unique perspective on things. The other thing that's really important about this is I have all of these collisions turned off. Now look what I can do. I can go right into these buildings here. I'll turn this off and I can go right through a building. So that makes panning around really simple and nice. I'm not really held back at all by any of the different things, the networks, the trees, anything. So I can turn these on and you'll get that more vanilla effect where it's raising me up, dropping me down, doing all of those things. So I like that it allows me the flexibility to zoom in as far as I need to, zoom out as far as I need to, not clip or to clip things if I want to. And that is one of the reasons why I think that this is an absolutely phenomenal mod. You can also hop into your settings here and modify some of these things if you wanted to have a different hotkey, for instance. So this is just under options, mod settings. You can also automatically go to disasters or decide that you don't want to do that. You don't have to do that. You can also change your camera movement speed. So if you want to pan around a little bit faster, you can certainly do that. And then you have your toggle first FPS mode. So Control Tab, and let's check that out. Control Tab, and it's just slowing things down a little bit. And when you hold your center mouse button, then you stay in one particular spot and you can rotate and spin around in that particular location. So very interesting mod, lots of different things you can do there. This mod is under active development and I expect this one to only improve over time. It is the very best camera mod that's available right now. At number 7 is the loading screen mod. And this is a mod that allows you to really take control of your game and do some interesting things with it. So I actually loaded into the loading screen mod from the main menu. So I went into the content manager, mods, loading screen mod, and what it allows you to do is share some of the assets, skins across different assets. So the meshes, the materials. So rather than loading these up for different assets, you can share the textures between assets, which can improve your loading times. So very, very, very helpful. It can optimize your thumbnails as well. It can give you reports for asset errors. So that if you have some errors that are popping up, which you'll be able to see through the loading screen mod, it'll give you a report that explains how all of that works. It can also help try to restore a game that has had a simulation error. And what a simulation error is if you load into the game and it's just blank, which is probably the most jarring thing that can happen to you. Or if you load into a map and rather than it being blank, you can't resume the game. It just doesn't unpause. I've had both of those happen, and the loading screen mod can help you get through this. So it's very, very useful. But probably the best feature is, let's say I go in and I load in. What you'll be brought to, instead of that old screen that you see where they give you some tips, you get this. So it talks to you about the scenes and assets that you're loading. It will give you the time that it's taken to load, the amount of RAM that it's using. So this could be helpful if you want to upgrade your RAM and you have a city that's an ideal size, you would know exactly how much physical RAM could be helpful for you. So I have 64 gigs. For Tutoria, I don't need anywhere near that. Because if I take a look at this, once we get through this, I think we're going to be around 25, 26 gigabytes. So I might be able to get away with 32. So this can be helpful in figuring that out. It'll also show missing assets and missing mods, simulation errors, and bring you right through that process. So it's just absolutely helpful. Everything right here is it's pulling in the content creator packs and the DLCs, and you can see that all, and then you can see exactly which step it's on until we load into the game. So very helpful if you also have a very little amount of RAM and you aren't exactly sure how long it takes to load into your game, you can take a look at this, and then maybe the next time you load in, you can do something else while you're waiting for your game to load. So just gives you a whole wealth of information and then speeds up your performance, because rather than loading duplicates of meshes and textures, it's loading one of those and sharing it across different assets. The effect is that the game looks the same, but it is a heck of a lot lighter. Number 8 is the Fine Road tool and Fine Road Anarchy, and these are so related, I just decided to include them together. So if you come into your road building menu and you take a look right here, if you have this 3mm normal 0, that is the Fine Road tool, and it also has Anarchy options right here. So this is one of the most important mods to me in the game, both of them together. So what it allows you to do is have a really fine elevation step if you want it, and then control exactly what's happening with your road. So right now, the circle here, this is part of the Fine Road tool. It allows you to come through, and the circle will do the vanilla's default setting for road height. So if I go through and let's say I want to update these, I'll just come through. Let's just say I have my avenue selected right here, my collector. I could force this to the ground now, and that will create, instead of a bridge, it's filling beneath the road. I could decide I want this to be elevated with this, and that will force that to be a bridge. And I can go beyond that. I can even take these and make these bridges. I could decide that I want it to be I can use bridge pieces that have, you know, kind of some of the decorative arches if they're available, and that's how I can get these. So if the game doesn't give this to you as your default option, you can force it, and then I can go underground if that is something I want to do. And obviously this is not the very best place to be doing this, but I was able to create a tunnel here by selecting 2 segments side by side. So very, very powerful tool that allows you to do quite a number of excellent things. And I'm going to just force these back down, and we'll force that up. And look what I'm able to do. Just really control this and make it look a lot better. And when combined with Move It, I could really make this have a really nice effect. So the other thing that this tool does when you have Fine Road Anarchy on is you can toggle Anarchy. Now, this is super powerful, especially when combined with Move It, which I mentioned earlier. Now we are going to be able to really do a number of things. So just off the bat, with Anarchy on, I can basically do whatever I want. So I can come right through here and create this road. No one's going to say a thing. Now this comes in really handy when you're making interchanges, because what it means is that you can overlap things and do a little bit of planning and then delete things that you don't need. Particularly when you're trying to measure, it can be absolutely invaluable, especially when combined with Move It. The other thing that allows you to do is have straight slopes. So if you've ever noticed that sometimes you end up with some strange slopes, right? Like right here, for instance. I want to go through here and I will show you what this does. So we're going to come through with our straight slope on, and it's perfectly sloped down now. You can end up with some weird artifacts like this though. So that's one reason why you might not want to do this, and why we might need to have a bridge. You can see that you can end up with some funky stuff from time to time though, so you got to be very careful with this. Here is also where it is very helpful to have Move It with this, so that you can tweak things and make sure that it's working correctly. Right here, this is collision. So this could be really helpful if you're upgrading a road and you don't want the buildings to demolish. You can come through and actually have collision off. Problem is, you can also inadvertently get roads to spring up, or trees to spring up through your roads. But let's say right here you wanted this to be a collector. If you have collision toggled, it's going to demolish the buildings. If you untoggle it, the buildings will stay there, which could give you the opportunity to change the zoning, slide the buildings back, whatever you would like to do. So definitely a very powerful tool. It's just one that you gotta with great power comes great responsibility. So you've got to be very aware of all of that power and responsibility. You also have road bending. Now, where this can be useful is, let's say you want to create a diagonal road that the game does not like. So if we turn this off, you'll notice that at certain angles, first of all, it doesn't like this one. I can turn on Anarchy and it's totally fine with this now. I can go as far as I want. But the other thing that you sometimes will want to do, let's say you're making a new block. And it does that. It bows out to try to make that connection. If you turn off this particular option right here for road bending, and you turn on Anarchy, which can be also Control A, and you can tell it's on because Chirpy goes nuts. He turns red. He's on fire. Now you can make that connection. So it can be very nice if you want to have a nice orderly grid that has some more difficult angles. You do see those in reality. You get some weird intersections, but that's completely acceptable. And it can make it very easy to really control your roadway network in a way that is not possible without it. So absolutely essential mod in my opinion. Okay, next up is one of my absolute favorites, Prop Line Tool. So what makes this mod so special is that it gives you this series of options down here that is almost identical to the roadway toolbar, so you can draw lines of trees and bushes, and it makes it so easy to decorate. So it's just like the roadway options. So you have the ability to do it in a straight line. You could also curve it. So let's say you knew the angle, nice bend, which can really help you if you're trying to go into freeform and, for instance, come around the side of a curved road. You can see that that is absolutely perfect. You can also do this in a circle. So let's say you have bushes and you want to make a circle of bushes. It's still selected. I can select a new bush in that same radius, come through, add a couple here, select a new one, grab a tree, and you can just come up with, you can create geometric patterns so incredibly quickly. It is absolutely amazing. The other thing that it allows you to do is you can change the spacing. So if we come into here and we adjust our default parameters, let's say we want to run them up the center of the road here, some palm trees. So we could come through here, we could decide that those are way too close, increase it by 10 meters, start to see some of these differences. The other thing that this does is it gives you warnings. So right now there's no warning. If I'm in the road, it gives me that yellow, can't do it. If I were to place it, they just won't show up. So it's very powerful. There is the Anarchy. It doesn't always work right. So I will just, be completely honest with you there. So I generally try to avoid this if you can. If you have prop and tree Anarchy, it's really powerful to have those two side by side in the game, Prop Line Tool and Prop Line Anarchy, because that gives you the ability to have a little bit more freedom with this. But if you're trying to decorate large areas and you want to be very controlled, you couldn't do any better than this mod. The other thing it allows you to do is do the exact same thing with props. So it's not just landscaping. Okay, so let's say you want to come through and place some of these tiles that you get in some of the parks packs. So these are these decals. You can also place these. So imagine how powerful this can be for you. If you want to make a large plaza or something, you can do so very, very quickly. Now, granted, this is great to use in combination with Move It. I would love to just be able to come through here. Now I have all of these in a straight line, and I can copy them and just start pasting them in a row. And you could quickly fill a plaza with this lovely tile if you wanted to. So very, very, very powerful tool. Does quite a few things. It does this with all props. You can use it for light posts as well. So if you come in here, you could also have a row of light posts, rainbow light posts apparently. So very, very, very useful. With this, if you had Move It again, you could come through, select this, and reset objects will change the color. It'll also bring an object back to life, but it can be very useful if you want to just change the color. So very useful tools, very useful to combine these. Some very interesting effects. So number 10, you may have already noticed my toolbars are a little different. So I'm going to recommend Better Road Toolbar, yet another toolbar, and UI resolution. Now I recommend these all together because they are all toolbar improvement mods. So Better Road Toolbar groups your roads by different types. So I think it makes it incredibly easy to find roads. I'm not even scratching the surface. If you have like vanilla plus roads and you have pedestrian roads or 1 unit wide roads, that adds another tab to this, but it makes it very easy to find everything that you're looking for, groups the transit roads by their type, and it just in general is a better organization scheme than comes with the vanilla game. Yet another toolbar adds this little minus button here, which allows you to increase and decrease the size of this, but it goes a step further. Holding Alt and Q, you get access to this quick menu. So if we have this open with the quick menu, we can see that we can increase the number of rows that we have here. So if we have a lot of mods enabled for roads and we have just tons and tons of them, you can increase this as much as you want, which is super useful. You could also change the number of columns if you have more roads than this kind here, or if you're just like me and you just want it to be a little bit more even. You can also change the panel scale. So if you think this is too big, you can make it smaller. If you think it's too small, you can make it bigger. You can also change the horizontal position. So if you want this to pop up on the side or left or right, very helpful. Vertical is up and down, so you can make that come wherever you like. You can also change the colors. You can have some transparency. You can make it fully transparent. You can really, just so much control. Same thing with the bars right here. You can get rid of those. So info panel, all of it, you have the ability to change the way that the UI looks for you. And then we have UI resolution. So if you come into here into your options menu and you go under graphics, what this does is allow you to scale your entire UI resolution. So I just set this to 90, and what you can see is I'm on a 4K panel on this. Everything just shrunk down. So for me, if I were playing by myself, I'd probably put this at 100 because it feels much more natural on a 4K display to have it like this. I generally set it to 150 when I'm recording because I think that if you're looking at this in 1080p or on a phone, it's going to look a lot better. And the default would be something like this, which is just way too big if you are on a 4K panel or anything high resolution. It becomes overwhelming and much too big. So the default game doesn't scale the toolbar when you change to higher resolutions. This is a way that you can do that. Very valuable. And the combination of all of those really lets you take control of the UI in a way that I really wish was available in the base game, at least some of this. Obviously, transparency, that's a personal choice, but the rest of it is very, very important. Number 11, extra landscaping tools, and I absolutely adore this mod. It is a ton of fun. It allows you to do a number of interesting things in a city that you could do in the map editor that the game removes once you get into a city. So let's take a look at one of those things. You can come into here and add in some resources. So let's say you want oil right here. You can certainly expand that. It gives you this brush option. You can use your right mouse click to eliminate that resource. And let's say you want it to be fertile land instead, you can certainly do that. Also change your intensity, or you can make it an ore area. So this can be really useful if you have a map theme that changes the way that the landscape looks. If you have a different resource under the ground, it can also just be helpful if you run out of resources or space in an area and you want to continue expanding your industry area. It's easy to do that with forests because you just plant more trees. But let's say you wanted to do the same thing with your oil industry. Now you have the ability to come through here, and it looks like I actually ran out of the resource in this particular area, which must mean that I didn't have the mod on that enables the resources never to run out. Now I've been able to paint that back in place. I can do the same thing with my ore industry here. and keep everything running appropriately. So very, very useful tool, but it doesn't stop there. We also have the ability to take control of our water. So now that I've clicked on this, this is available to you in the map editor, this same sort of tool. You can set spawn points, so you can see that there's one right here for water. If I remove this, this whole lake will just disappear. Same thing here. And I could use it to make my own lakes. So I've been doing some weird stuff here to try to keep this lake going in a vanilla way. Let's just say I got rid of that. And I wanted to make this a lake that could last forever on its own. I come through here. I'm going to change my capacity to something very low. If I go all the way to 0, it's actually going to act as a vacuum. So I don't want to do that. That will actually suck the water out. But if I set, let's say I set it here. I can pop that down and it looks like it's floating. That's okay. That shading that you're seeing is actually how high the water level would get. And as I bring it down, you can start to see where the water level would end up. So I'll lower that down. And now, once everything clears out, the water level should normalize at that level that I set. I am going to turn the speed up, which if you know anything about the water mechanic in this game, that actually makes it very, very rough. And so you can end up with more flooding, but we're going to do it anyway. I have a good feeling about what we've done. Now, if we set it to a slower speed, it'll kind of relax, and hopefully this will all come back to normal in just a moment. And look at that. Now we've got our lake. It is going to maintain this height and be like this forever, just as if it was created on the map. You could also do another number of other interesting things. You could decide, I need a waterfall. You could create a water feature here, and then come through here, and let's say you want to create that vacuum. Now we have our vacuum right there, and we could change our terrain. Come through, let's say we flatten it out right here. We direct our water this way. Obviously this is not good, but what we're doing, so I'll pull this, actually I apologize. If you want it to act as that vacuum, you can create whatever size you want, and then you just pull it all the way to the bottom, and then it will act as that vacuum. And if we look, you can kind of see it's kind of acting as a hoover now. You can see the water actually sucking towards that hole. So obviously this all takes a lot of work and patience to get this going right. But if you do it correctly, you can create some really unique features. Obviously, go slow with this. You don't want to flood everything out like I am right now. But let's see. Now we have this water feature here. If we played with this, this could be, I could make it appear that there is a pipe sending this across the road. So I could start this feature back up on the other side of the road, make it look like there's a drainage pipe underneath here. So it's very powerful. Obviously this is quick and dirty, and I just did something so that you could see, but having the ability to access those water tools is absolutely outstanding. All of the terrain tools are available to you that are in the map editor. So absolutely take a look at this mod. Next up is Surface Painter, and this one's pretty simple. The main reason I like this one is so you come up here and it gives you the option to do a few things. You could just come through, change your brush size, and kind of fill in some of these areas that you might have otherwise just kind of complained about and not been able to do much. It can give you a much more clean aesthetic. You can also come through with grass, ruined, if you want ruined. So you can come through and overlap any of the concrete, give it that ruined look. You can also do the exact same thing with field, if you like that green, if that's something you're into. And then you can also come through with clip. And what that'll do is actually remove all of those kind of painted features. Now this path, for instance, that I just deleted, still there. So you'll see people are still walking down it, and no problem, they can still see it there. Right mouse click, and anything that you deleted comes right back, but you can get rid of it at the same time. So if you really want to clean things up, this is a way that you can do it. You have all of these different brushes that are available to you. So if you want something that's a little bit has a bit of a sharper edge, you can certainly do that. And it can really go a long way towards improving the aesthetic of your city. Highly recommend this tool. Next up is one that I use in every single build that I have, Speed Slider. So this is in a mod that can, number one, make your vehicles and pedestrians walk at a little bit more appropriate speed or drive at a little bit more appropriate speed. So let's take a look at this particular pedestrian. You think she's too fast? Well, we can slow her down. And what this will do is change your simulation speed to something that is a bit more appropriate. This can help you eke out some extra FPS. It also slows down your movement. So if you're zipping around too much and you want to slow down and smell the roses, you can certainly do that. I find 80 to be a very good and natural spot to be. 100 is obviously 100% speed. But if you're doing cinematics, it can be really helpful to put these on there as well. Slow things down, get it to be buttery smooth, 60 FPS, wonderful. It's just very, very helpful. This is at 50%, and you can see that it looks pretty darn good here, and it's just absolutely smooth. So this can be very helpful. You can speed up your simulation and slow it down on Speed Slider, and sometimes get a silky smooth appearance and really get the most out of the game. And it can be really helpful if you want to do things like follow trains or planes or anything like that. Now, I'm not sure what just happened there. Let's try that again. Because now I can eke out the maximum FPS for something like this. So absolutely important. If you want to eke some extra performance out, this is the way that I do it. Number 14 is Hide It Bobby. So this is a great mod because it allows you to take control of the visual appearance of your game. And now we're using Hide It Bobby so that we can use Bob if we want to in the build as well. So come into here, we're going to options, and here is Bob. We're not gonna look at that. We're gonna look at Hide It Bobby. So one of the things that Hide It Bobby allows you to do is get rid of ruining, which is a feature that everyone hates. If you have Bob installed as well, that effect is that occurs through Bob. You'd have to control it there. But if you don't have that, then you can use Hide It Bobby. So you can hide a number of things. Like let's say you just don't like Chirpy, you can get rid of Chirpy on the main menu UI. If you're in game, you can do a whole bunch of things. So let's see what we can get rid of here. The info views, that button just disappeared. Disaster, gone. Chirper, gone. The radio gear, gone. Lots of different things that you can get rid of. The city name. It gives you the ability to really control your UI, get rid of buttons that maybe confuse you or get in your way. So I love to do this because for certain things, like I never use the radio, so I don't want that available to me. It's just another thing on the screen to get in the way. If you have a better bulldozer, for instance, you can get rid of the bulldozer, toolbar, whatever you want to get rid of. So I find that this can be really useful. You might find that the time panel gets in your way if you're using Speed Slider. You can get rid of that. Whatever you want to get rid of, it can be very, very, very useful. The most powerful thing though is if you do not have Bob, you can get rid of the ruining. You can also get rid of a number of effects. So let's go into an area that has lots of sprites and things of that nature. So right here, we're zoomed in and you can see all of these grass sprites. Let's get rid of some of those. So we can come down here and let's get rid of grass decorations. And now you can see that all of those are gone. So this can improve your FPS. You can also get rid of fertile ground decorations, all of the different decorations that come from painting different types of resources. You can also get rid of the dirty water and different pollution colors. You can get rid of all of the different areas, so ore, pollution, all of that stuff, all of it is available here to get removed. So the tree ruining and the prop ruining is the one thing you can't do if you have Bobby, or if you have Bob enabled, but being able to hide all of this stuff can really change the visual effect of your city. Get rid of the seagulls and the wildlife and the cliff decorations. All of these things are also taking your FPS down just ever so slightly. So very, very interesting. And you can see that what this has done, there will not be a seagull in sight now, no wildlife, And a lot of those different ruining sorts of sorts of effects are gone now. All of the grass is gone on the hills where there's some like rock type circles. Those are all gone now. And all of that translates into more FPS, more performance, and a customized look to your city that kind of fits with the ambiance that you're going for. So I think it's really helpful. I tend to use this turning off a number of things. Like, I don't want to see the pollution, the ruining. I just want it to look normal. I also don't want the tree ruining. If I don't have Bob enabled, I'll have that off through Hide It Bobby, and that allows you to plant trees in the beach. So things like that are very useful. Now we can plant trees we'd be able to plant trees in a polluted area, which to me, that's one of the effects of the game that I dislike the most, is the fact that if you have an area with pollution and you plant a tree, the tree is ruined. That's just not very realistic. If you go into industrial areas, you'll often see trees used as screening to prevent the outside world from seeing all of that industrial activity. It can also be used as kind of a sponge to absorb some of the pollution in the ground. So it's not at all abnormal to see trees in these areas, and this is a way that you can fix that. And I'm sorry that I went on a diatribe there. That's one of the things that bugs me about the game. And then last but certainly not least for this video is Picker. So this is this little eyedropper here, and it is so valuable. So it allows you to come through, find anything on the map, and let's say you want to be able to use it again. You have your Picker highlighted and it selects it for you. This should be in the base game. This is such an excellent feature. I can come through, select this tree, and now I have all my advanced toolbars and stuff. I'd be able to plop this tree. No problem. Super easy. You can switch back and forth between things so quickly. You can even pick that building and place that building. So you can do this for anything. It is absolutely fantastic. It just gives you the ability to do things very quickly, experiment around a bit, and take things that you wouldn't otherwise normally be able to place and replace them. So it's very, very, very helpful. Excellent, excellent mod. And with those 15 mods, I think that if you install those, you would have so much more fun with the game, so much more control over the game, and it would add a ton of replay value to the game. Not to mention, the game would look a ton better than it does in vanilla. So I highly encourage you to go and check out the list that is in the video description. You can subscribe right to there from the Steam store and check out this collection of mods. Just a reminder, next week's video will have some more advanced mods like TMPE and Bob, things that are very useful but take a little bit more skill and time, and honestly there's a steeper learning curve. But for the mods that we presented today, I recommend that anyone playing on PC go and check out those mods right away. Hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you are not subscribed, please consider doing so, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.